So I am going to be wearing my sunglasses because, as you can see, if I look at you, I'm going to be squinting because the sun is like here, like just up in the corner here. And so I'll literally look like this the whole time. Yeah, so let's start, shall we? So I thought I would do like film a video somewhere a little bit different. So hopefully this sounds okay because I am using my microphone. But you can see the really nice like background here. Cute. I just thought it'd be like nicer. I'm sitting like basically outside my house, so yeah, this is cool. I'm glad you guys are here. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kesvi. I did a poll on my Instagram. If you haven't seen my Instagram, this is my Instagram, that says people want more vlogs, but and I did hear you guys, and don't worry, I am going to be doing like more vlogging content, but today we're going to do story time with Kesvi. Yay! In August 2019, I guess it was like this time last year, I decided that I no longer wanted to be in Toronto, and I got myself a job in Whistler. But before I moved to Whistler, I didn't want to just go straight there. I wanted to do a road trip, and I'd heard so many good things about Jasper and Banff, so I really wanted to go there. Now you guys know, and if you've watched enough of my videos, you know how much I love Facebook groups. So at the middle, I think it was maybe the middle of August, I put on the Canadian backpackers group, like, I want to do this road trip. Is there anyone else who also wants to do this? Like around this time, I've got 2 weeks and I want to go to this place, this place, and this place. And I got some responses, and like I got some weird and creepy responses, don't get me wrong, like it wasn't all like nice and fluffy. I got into this group chat with 3 people who I now call my friends. One of the guys was from Germany, and then there was a couple from the Netherlands. We decided to do this road trip together. So after we started talking on this Facebook group, on this Facebook chat, we kind of decided our route. So this was the route that we decided. It hit everywhere that all of us wanted to go. We did also want to do Vancouver Island, but that was actually really difficult, like within the time frame that we had, because we only had 14 days. Also super lucky in the fact that we all kind of had like around the same budget. So when we were like looking at hostels and stuff, we realized it was going to be way too expensive to do it with hostels, like staying in hostels. So we found this guy again on a Facebook group that was selling all of his like camping gear that he'd obviously used when he'd done like a very similar road trip, and he was leaving the country, so he needed to like get rid of it ASAP. So we got it all for super cheap, which was awesome. And it also was on our way. It was in Whistler, because we did go through Whistler at the start of the trip. Sorry, something just fell. It was a leaf. It kind of all really fell into place for us. So I went to go pick up the car, and Matthias came with me, and then we picked up Stefan and Inez at the airport and went to Walmart to get a few supplies, and then we went to Whistler to meet up with this guy to give us like his like tents and stoves and stuff, which we used extensively. So today we're going to go through the hikes that we did on this journey, and whether I would recommend it for people who don't really hike. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? We stayed in Nairn's Fall campground, which has like its own falls, so like its own little hike that you can go to go see these falls. I mean, it wasn't anything special. Anyone can really do that hike. I don't think it was even a hike. It was kind of like more like a stroll, I would say. Everything is like kind of cordoned off, and there's like what's it called, that thing? There's like platforms which you can stand on to see the falls, and it's still like very beautiful, but it was definitely like, the campground is great, but it wasn't really worth going to see the falls themselves, I don't think. Day 2, we went to the 1 Mile Lake. You can walk there from Nairn's Fall campground. It was beautiful, yes. I mean, it's a great kind of like time filler, I would say. Like if you don't really know what to do, but it's like too late to go on like a hike that you really want to do, it's kind of a nice like casual stroll. So day number 3 we did Joffrey's Lake, which is still one of my favorite things that I've ever done in my whole entire life. These lakes were beautiful, like unlike anything I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Even like non-hikers, you should do this hike because it was 100% worth it. The pictures don't even do it justice. Seriously, you go in and there's like the first lake, which is like literally a 5-minute walk from car park, and then you've got the second lake, which I think is about 30 minutes, and then another 30 minutes to get up to the top lake. And you just, it's the most Instagrammable place in the world. Basically. Yes, worth doing. I would recommend it to everybody. So our next stop was Wells Grey Provincial Park. There we stayed at the Clear Lake campground. I mean, it was, I don't know anything about camping grounds, so yes, it was a nice camping ground. We could camp there. The toilets weren't great, but they were flushable, so yeah. The other thing that we did on day 5 was we hiked to Moores Falls. I think that's how you say it, Moores Falls. Hike was pretty easy. There was some like quite steep bits, especially at the end when you're actually getting to the falls. The hike, it's like quite a steep downhill. If you're not a hiker, worth going. Oh my god, that waterfall is insane. We were really lucky when we went. There was also like a rainbow, like a, I don't know if you can see it in the pictures, but there's like a rainbow over the top of like where I'm standing. So I did go underneath the falls, and the others didn't, but literally like you just want, like, you can kind of walk around, like walk around it and then go to the other side and come back again. And it is honestly awesome, but really don't do it unless it's a hot day because you get absolutely drenched. Like I was drenched through. The next place we went to, we drove down to JASPER. We drove down to JASPER, and on our way there we stopped off at the Mount Robson viewpoint, which was incredible. Honestly, like, you don't even need to stop off at the viewpoint if you can take pictures while you're driving. There's some really great images you can take while you're driving with like the mountain in front of you and with the clouds around it and stuff. So we went because it was like end of September time. It was getting kind of cold, so it was like there's a lot of snow on the top, which was really cool. So the next hike that we did was Mount Edith Cavell. Go to the first, like the viewpoint there, because the viewpoint isn't very far from like the car park. Worth it, so beautiful. Really great for like taking photos and stuff. Then if you want to hike to the first viewpoint from there, because there's 2 viewpoints. There's 3 viewpoints. 2 you have to hike to, and the other one's just kind of walking distance from the car park. Yeah, hike to that first viewpoint. We went to that second viewpoint, and honestly, it like really, if you don't like hiking, it's really not worth it. After you've done it, like, you don't feel like it was worth it. So yeah, definitely go to it, go see it, go to the first 2 viewpoints. But honestly, doing like the whole trek, really not worth it. Seeing the glacier, and like we heard it crack about 3 or 4 times while we were there. It was an incredible experience, and it was so incredibly loud. Like, you don't realize how loud it is. So then the 8th day, as you can tell, we only really do like 1 hike a day. None of us were big hikers. We wanted to see as much as we could without feeling like crazy tired all the time. And like, I mean, by day 8 my legs were pretty much aching constantly, so that shows you how much I really hike. So we actually got up quite early, and we managed to see, I mean, most days we saw like the sunrise, but this sunrise was incredible. It was so beautiful. It was pink and orange. It was just like had the most amazing colors. From there we then went to see the Valley of the 5 Lakes. The lakes are incredible, and there are like, yes, yes, there are 5 lakes, and they do get more and more beautiful. I think the 5th lake is the biggest lake, and it takes the longest to walk around. The water is like crystal clear. Like, we didn't go swimming because it was super cold when we went, but I can imagine in the summer it's so fun to go and just like be around the lake, kind of sit there, have some like lunch and stuff, do that kind of thing. But it wasn't really like I wouldn't call it a hike, I'd call it like a walk. It's worth for a lot of these hikes, especially I would say Joffrey, and for like the Valley of the Five Lakes, getting up super early and just getting there as early as you possibly can, because it does, like, you find like as soon as it hits like as soon as it hits like 11 a.m. All the way probably to like 3, 4, 5 p.m. it is crowded because everybody wants to go. And like, I mean, hikes don't really get that crowded, but yes, crowded for a hike. So the next stop for us was the Lake Louise campground, so Lake Louise itself. We stopped off at Park. We did the Park Ridge trails. This is just, it's breathtaking. It's not something I've ever seen before, and it was actually breathtaking because you see this, you have to climb. It felt like Christmas when we went because it was climbing through all these, like, all this snow and like all these trees, which like all these fern trees like covered in snow, and it was so beautiful. And it was, I don't think it was that long of a hike, to be honest. I think it was like 45 minutes. And that's because I walk slowly, so if you walk slowly it'll be 45 minutes, maybe less if you don't walk slowly like I do. Yeah, you see this incredible view, like this literally panoramic view of the mountains around there, and then this is the Saskatchewan Glacier. That's definitely worth doing, yeah, especially like nearer to winter, because you can like really get the full effect of the actual glacier. And on that same day we went to go see the world famous PEYTO lakes, and again the pictures just don't do it justice, like not even a little bit. The turquoise is indescribable. Even if you don't go for the hike, which we didn't, it is honestly so worth going just to go to the viewpoint, because you'll never see anything like it, like ever. I want to go back again just so that I can do the hike down to actually like see the lake close up. I think that would be incredible. So we went to Lake Louise. I mean, it was obviously going to be very touristy because it's Lake Louise, like it's literally world famous. But it just wasn't good weather when we went, so I think I was quite underwhelmed by it. We didn't get like clear skies and stuff, so I think when you don't get that like great weather, it doesn't have that same full effect, but it was still insane. And we also went to Moraine Lake in the same day. That was like less touristy, but I don't think you need to go to both. But again, like maybe it was because the day that we went, it wasn't great weather, and so we didn't kind of get the full effect. There weren't people like kayaking and stuff, like we can go kayaking. But I would really like to go back and actually see it like in the summer one time. So on day 11, we actually left Lake Louise campground and we went to Upper Banff Hot Springs. Like we stayed in Banff, but before we went to our camping ground, we actually went to the Upper Banff Hot Springs. I liked it a lot. It was a lot more chilled out. There were less kids in this one, and I'm not someone that like dislikes kids, don't get me wrong. I love kids, but like when you're going to a hot springs and you really want to chill, I think it was worth it. And it has a really great view from up there too. Yeah, it has like a really great view. Definitely worth a visit. So our next stop was back to BC, and we stayed in Golden. We stayed at a hostel called the Kicking Horse Hostel. Trust me, the lady that runs the Kicking Horse Hostel is actually epic. She is so nice. She makes you feel at home. Her name's Tanya. She's from Scotland, and she's just like one of the best people I think I've ever met. So she like let us wash all of our clothes there, and she just like looked after us. And honestly, the beds were incredibly, like, so comfortable. Just, and I think maybe that was because we've been sleeping on the floor for the last like 11 nights, but no, I actually think the beds are genuinely like that comfortable. They were just like really nice. She made that staying there fun, and she gave us some really good tips on like where to hike, like where to hike around there. That's like really good. So while we did the WAPTA Falls, I guess, hike, it's so worth it. It's really easy. The hardest part is like getting down to the falls themselves. You can actually climb down. It's a really fun experience. You can go climbing around there and stuff. There's a lot more to see around there than you think, but it's well worth it. WAPTA Falls, trust me, go see it. Like, you won't regret it, especially in the summer. I can imagine, like, it's so nice. Actually, the last hike we did on our 2-week trip, the last couple of days was just kind of getting us back to Vancouver. So we stopped off in Kelowna and stayed there for the night and did a bit of city life, I guess. I wouldn't suggest Kelowna unless you're going to spend a bit of time there and actually like go to like the hikes and stuff around there and go to all the lakes, because I've heard that's beautiful. But Kelowna itself, I wasn't a big fan of the town itself. So yeah, and then we came back to Vancouver. I dropped these guys off at the airport, or the hostel. I think I dropped them off at the hostel. And then I went to Whistler, and that's where my Whistler story begins, I guess. But yeah, no, it was an awesome road trip. I had the best time. Like, I really wasn't expecting to have such a good time. Obviously there were times we didn't really know each other, us four, but obviously there were times where we didn't get along and we had like arguments and stuff, but like that's all part of life. Overall, I think we all like really enjoyed ourselves, which was so lucky, because it could have been like such a disaster. And I'm glad that I did that 2-week road trip. Banff and Jasper are like literally just as beautiful as people say they are. They really do live up to their hypes. So if you get the chance to do a road trip, or you want to create a road trip, or you want to go on a road trip, please do it. You will not regret it. It will be one of the best things that you ever do. Yeah, just like literally some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I saw that.